Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the Football Retro Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny, and today I'm joined by everyone, Fatty, Akin, and Darcy. How you doing, guys? How you doing, Fatty?
I didn't know what you were about to say there. Today I'm joined by, I thought you were going to mention someone. I'm like, who's he going to fucking mention me? He said everyone. Threw me off a bit. But yes, I'm well, Johnny. Good to be back for another episode. I actually don't know what today's topic is, but find out, I guess.
You never pay attention, do you?
Man, I just show up and talk. That's it.
Yeah.
Talk shit.
Got to be off the cuff. At least it's more genuine that way.
How you doing, man?
Scripted is reading from a teleprompter.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I've studied really hard for this topic. I've taken a lot of work. I need to just compensate for Fatty's lack of knowledge. Off the cuff kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
And Darcy's come prepared even in his gear. He's got a hat on and everything.
Yes. Dressed for the occasion, but it's a good topic.
Oh wow, occasion.
Good
So
one.
it must be some Real Madrid thing. Interesting.
Nice.
So we
I
had
just
an-
love Darcy's research methodologies that he thinks about it when he's on the can.
Yeah. Did you do your research, Darcy? I put thought into it. So to him, that's
acknowledge it wasn't that easy to think about, but yeah, good.
How do you wearing them?
I use Google like every other human. I don't sit there and think about every single transfer that happened over the last 25 years and and every single lineup that's out.
Wasn't my question. I asked about your hat though.
My
So
hat.
what hat do you wear?
Well,
I can't see.
Boston Celtics.
It's the Celtics, one of his many, many teams that he
I was
follows.
just about
Many
to say,
hats.
one of his 17 NBA teams.
Yeah,
One of my
that's
many
it.
hats.
Interesting.
All right, what's the topic today, Darcy?
Yes, so a combined 11 of Barcelona and Real Madrid for the 21st century,
That's right.
which I think is not easy to come up with a team like that, but gee, a lot of thought into that.
It's not easy at all. I mean, both clubs have had strong 11s in the last 21 years. Obviously, Real Madrid with going through the golden era of winning the Champions Leagues, and the Barca, as we mentioned before, probably having the best team ever in club football. So it's going to be not an easy task combining them in one strong 11 starting lineup. I'm hoping that Fatty and I stayed rational and you two would not be too biased towards the Merengues.
When am I ever biased?
Professionalism.
The rationale I provide is that now it's clear that EPL is greater than La Liga. There's no argument. But
Why is that clear now? All of a sudden, how did that become clear in your head?
well, there's
All the studying during the day.
well, clearly the argument of who the greatest player is. You had both greatest players in the same league. All of a sudden now there's no greatest player in that league. You're talking about Benzema, which I get a great striker, but I mean that's about it. I don't know anyone else in La Liga.
Oh, it's getting heated already. I like it. Let's start. Let's get it straight into it.
Darcy looks uncomfortable now after that comment.
Let's
No.
get straight
I can
into
see
it.
why you
Darcy,
say that, but yeah, anyway.
before we get started, how's Perez going lately? Have you checked up on his body language or?
He's actually hasn't been in the news much, to be honest. He's doing all right, I think.
I think Perez has been keeping very low after the whole. No joke, serious comment.
Yeah.
Since that whole saga of the Super League thingy, and then threatening clubs that they're going to be expelled and whatnot from certain leagues, it's died down. I don't know what it is. If it's COVID, if it's people getting over COVID, if it's just leagues resuming again with fans and everything kind of just getting swept on the rug. I haven't heard or read much about it, so I'm really not sure where that's at. I'm curious to see if it's just he's kind of biding his time and maybe slowly we'll bring it back, bring the idea back.
Yeah, I reckon he is. I mean, Perez is never a guy that's defeated. It's always delayed. That's his kind of attitude. So you never know. I reckon in a couple of years they'll bring it back. He's had so many losses this year though, because you had the Super League, Fatty, but then he'll try to go for Mbappe. He put all his chips into that attempt. Didn't work out. And then you had all the taped recordings of him bagging on former players and legends.
Oh, wow.
That was just a thing to. Nothing came of that though.
Oh, so you're gonna defend
And I'm
him.
good bias. Really.
Nothing came of it. Like,
Didn't he pretty much say that Raul was the worst player to wear a Real Madrid jersey?
He called
He
people.
didn't mean it, Paddy. He didn't mean it.
That was a
workplace
beat
talk.
up.
Workplace talk, man. It happens every workplace. Honestly, it does. People say so much.
That's water cooler chit chat. This is around the
People
water
say
cooler.
so much nonsense. I've been around at work. It happens.
Far out. What was the workplace you've been around at, Darcy? Far out.
Darcy was the type of person that if Perez was in the same spot as OJ Simpson, Darcy like he's innocent.
So, Johnny, I think it's a case of what happened where you were talking about last week. Messi left Barcelona and went to PSG. I think if Florentino Perez were left Real Madrid, he went to a different club, you would see the same kind of thing.
No, not that far, man.
I gotta ask. Is that merchandise has just been sent to you for free, or?
No, this was actually from the Real Madrid store when I did the tour, the stadium. Straight after you do the tour, I bought it from there. Yeah.
They're not being bought by Mr. Perez.
No, and look, and I need to thank him for at least getting the team here for a tour in Australia, and we got to see them. So
He's getting thanked now. You know what? I did hear about politicians within the football environment and presidents paying off journalists to speak highly of them. I didn't think he reached all the way here, but
now you're being accused of taking money.
No, come on. Darcy has his morals and his ethics. He does it for free.
from the heart. But look,
From the heart.
what I don't get, he talked about the way he implemented the Super League was bad. The way he executed it was terrible. No, everyone agrees with that. But it's going to happen. Look, it's always been on the cards, this talk. He's just been in the forefront of it. I don't think he should have. We've discussed this on the show before. And what gets me is that, the Premier League clubs were seen as saviors and the heroes of this. So they were all on board in signing this. So I think they just chose the wrong guy to spearhead it.
I think he's just got a big mouth, and he loves to be the face, and he wants to be the one that came with the idea and the one that did everything and take all the glory. And sometimes it backfires.
recently I read that they're still looking at punishing Real Madrid, Barca, and Juve. So
where was that? When was that?
Recently, yeah, UEFA. So we'll see what comes out of that.
Yeah, look, it's not over yet, so a lot of stuff happening. But yeah, you could probably fire Ancelotti soon with the way the results are going at the moment. So
you're coming first in your group and first in the league, or second in Champions League and first in the league.
Results keep going the way they are, I'm saying. Yeah. So anyway,
because he lost the Sheriff Tiraspol.
Yeah, and lost Espanyol just before this international break.
I thought Chelsea were result-based in firing coaches, but I guess.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's jump into this. It's enough Perez talk. Otherwise, Hadas will fall in love even more. So, yes, best 11 of Real Madrid and Barcelona combined for this 21st century.
Wow.
Now,
I definitely should have studied for this topic, but it's all right.
having a look at the lineup, I think there are, in my eyes, there are 4, maybe 5 that will all agree on blindly, in my opinion.
You reckon?
In my opinion. And the rest will be some sort of discussion.
Just for that, I'm going to argue with every single one for you.
Yeah, because I'll be wearing white for you, that's why. All right. You probably bloody put Vinicius Jr. before Messi if it's up to you.
I'm curious to see.
Vinicius Jr. before Messi.
No, I got Vinicius. I don't know who the second guy is, though.
I'm curious to see if Akram and Adasi actually agree on most of the players. And eventually, how many, if it's an even split in terms of the 11, if it's 5 and 6, or if it's going to be 7 and 4, could be heavy one side. I mean, I don't know how biased they are. We'll find out, I guess, by the end of this episode.
We'll get your thoughts too, Fadi and Johnny too.
Oh, you'll get my thoughts.
100%. Yeah. So let's start with the goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper is one that I think we all agree on. That's my opinion. Because the two that come to mind for me from Real and from Barca are Victor Valdez and Casillas. Okay. I personally, I like Casillas as one of my favorite goalkeepers of all time, and I'll choose him in this starting 11. What about you guys?
I think, look, you're going to say I'm biased in that, but I think Casillas, for me, I just feel like he was that more secure than Valdez. Valdez was good, but I think the team Valdez had in front of him kind of took the limelight or spotlight away from his goalkeeping and what he did, just because of how good Barcelona were in that when he was keeper. But I think Casillas, the way the amount of times he saved Real Madrid, the terrible defenses he had in front of him year after year, of just unbalanced teams and leaky defenses, and the way he pulled through and the amount of titles he was still able to win, and captain Real in that time he was there. I think, he gets a nod in that in the number one spot.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about those two, to be honest. I would think I would go for Ter Stegen. Yeah, right.
I can't even take him seriously. I swear to God.
Have you ever?
You know what's funny? It's funny. Darcy comes in saying, "Look, I don't want to sound biased and this and that," and then Akron comes in and says, "Fucking take the piss."
No, come on, it's Casillas all the way. I mean, just because this category is not the strongest in terms of overall keepers, I don't think Valdez at the time of his play was ever the top keeper in the world. I don't think Courtois has ever really been the undisputed best keeper in the world. He's been there or thereabouts. And the same with Ter Stegen, right? But Casillas during his peak was undoubtedly the best keeper. The only person that you could argue was for Buffon. And it really was a question of which player had the better season on a per-season basis. If it was 07 and one had a better year, then you'd say that one, the first. To 2008, you might say the second, etc. So for me, yeah, it's clearly in a way Casillas. Fatty, don't even bother saying anything. We don't need to. Just move on.
But it's funny you mentioned all those keepers from both teams and didn't even touch on Keylor Navas.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. He was at the club for 5 years. First year he was back up to Casillas, and the last year he was demoted to second choice to Courtois, which is very controversial. But in that 3 years that he had as a starter, yeah, like special mention, 3-peat in the Champions League, winning La Liga as well. Great keep, great servant for the club. But I just think he didn't have that longer spell at the club to kind of be the number one for 21st century in a combined 11. But yeah, definitely a favourite of his, and it was sad in the way he left the club.
We.
But
We.
The fan base, the community.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand here.
Yes.
I'm trying to get a feel for what's happening. I'm trying to immerse myself.
Yeah, but he is worth the mention. I just don't think he was at the club that long enough to beat Casillas to that.
Fatty?
There's absolutely, I'd love to argue with Akram, that, but I really this one. We've mentioned this in a previous episode about Valdez for some reason. I don't know when it came up, and we all said that his success was based on the team that was in front of him. Again, when we spoke about the goalkeepers episode, it was between Casillas and Buffon. So there's absolutely no argument there. It's definitely Casillas as a goalkeeper, as a leader, not just as a keeper. His name is synonymous with Madrid. So
let me ask you another one. Just give me a
fuck,
name.
You don't want to take the answer. What's wrong with
Valdez or Ter Stegen, if you had to speak between the two?
No, I'd pick Valdez purely because he was involved in a more successful era with Barcelona. If you're going to talk about specific ability, then there can be a little argument. You can say, yeah, Ter Stegen technically maybe is a better goalkeeper. Valdez is a little more irrational with his playing style, if you want to call it that. But no.
No, yeah, fair enough. I mean, we talked about this in the goalkeeper episode as well. I'd have to go with Ter Stegen, though.
Yeah, same.
I think so too. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the right back. And right back's another one that I think we all agree on. And the two main options for me, correct me if I'm wrong, are Carvajal or Dani Alves.
I'm going to go with Dani Alves for that one. I just think, he was such a great player going forward. Did his job defensively. Typical Brazilian fullback, wingback. One of the most decorated players in football, the amount of trophies he's won. I just think Carvajal, as much as I like him, he's a very good right back. I just think his injuries kind of may have put him back a bit there. Like he's just a bit too injury prone. Yeah, so I think just because I think Alvarez for me. And
Would you agree that
interesting
Carvajal is the best right back in the 21st century for Real Madrid?
21st for Real Madrid? Ooh, yeah, probably in the 21st century. Either him or Salgado. Tough one between them two.
Okay.
Yeah. And don't forget, Ramos also started as a right back, and then a couple of years into his time at Real Madrid, moved into centre back position as well.
Fair enough. Akram?
Yeah, I'd have to go for Dani Alves. Fantastic player. During his peak, like Barcelona did revolve their play around Messi and Alves. That right side was unbelievable. When he played for Sevilla, they dictated their play through that right back and his ability to get up there. One of the most technically skilled right backs that we've ever seen, coupled with extremely explosive athleticism. One of the most exciting players that we've seen in El Clasico. It's unbelievable to watch. You starting off with the easy ones, Johnny.
The two of the four that I mentioned that are...
Did you say 4 or 5?
Four, maybe 5.
He jumps between numbers, just like his teams.
Exactly.
Wow.
Fatty, same thing, Dani Alves?
I was going to say Cafu, but that's fine. I'll go Dani Alves.
Then you haven't heard the criteria yet.
Wrong teams, buddy.
I don't know what this episode's about. I forgot.
You can't claim ignorance.
Now, look, when it comes to wingbacks, Brazilians are synonymous with generating amazing wingbacks, left and right. And Dani Alves is no exception. I mean, he's still playing now. Crazy.
He just left São Paulo. He doesn't have a club.
Yeah, but he played the Olympics with Brazil.
And he played the semi-final of the Libertadores. Yeah.
So to be at that, how old is he now? 38?
He would be,
yeah.
Be 37 or 38. Be that fit. It is a testament to his professionalism, I suppose. But yeah, he's had a long career. He's very decorated.
Especially for a Brazilian, Fatty, who loves to party and drink and carnival.
That's true. I'm curious were his predecessors like that? The Roberto Carloses and the Cafus. Were they exposed to that party lifestyle, or just did we not know about it because social media didn't exist?
Honestly, I'm not sure about Cafu, but I think Roberto Carlos was certainly part of that kind of lifestyle with the Los Galacticos, with R9. That generation did like to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Did a Vinicius come out recently and say that he walked into Real Madrid change room and could smell alcohol?
Yeah, in his book, I think. Yeah.
Oh, it's just water cooler talk, Johnny. What are you talking about?
Apologies.
Don't believe everything you hear.
Apologies. So that's 2 from 2 we all agree on. Now, this is where the interest conversations start. Ramos and Puyol, first centre-back.
Oh, wow.
Well, why are you putting them against each other? You got 2 spots for centre-back. Why are you putting them only... what if you want to have both of them? You're trying to eliminate one.
I think Fatty took my answer. I was going to put both of them in as my centre backs.
Okay, so I'll give you. What do I give you? 4 centre backs, and we'll pick 2. Is that what you want to do?
Why don't you just say there's a spot for centre back, and they can pick who they want?
Okay, there you go.
So anyway, Ramos and Puyol for me. It's at the back.
You said one at a time. Now this guy goes.
Yeah, well, anyway, I just saying.
I've got to say, I really enjoy when Fatty hosts. It's much better, Johnny. No offense, mate.
Next week, I'll step down.
Sorry,
have a go.
I just felt like you were in a roundabout kind of way trying to influence the fucking decision.
He always does. There's never a conversation with Johnny that he doesn't try to give you loaded questions.
Well, I was putting 1 and 1 on each centre back position. That's why.
Yeah, but technically you could eliminate one of them, then someone else who's less worthy gets in the other spot.
All right. Who are your centre backs, Fatty?
So if you want to list 4 or 5, and then we can name the 2 that we like. Unless you're going with 3 at the back, that's a different story.
The 2 centre backs for you. Who are your 2 centre back pairings?
Number 1 has to be Ramos. Can't deny that. It's his record speaks for itself. His leadership, everything he's done. You're seeing Real Madrid now how they are suffering without him, without his leadership skills. Even his goals, fucking hell! Like the guy scored clutch goals in important moments to win games. Like it's just crazy. it's crazy. The influence he had from the back was enormous. It's undoubted, and it can't be taken away from him. For me, not being a Real Madrid fan, it was a little disappointing to see that he didn't retire at Madrid, purely based on the record and what he's achieved there. It would have been nice to see that, because his name's been synonymous with Madrid. Like when I see Ramos, I see him in Real Madrid jersey. That's it. Nothing else. Not even Spain. Like you see him and you think Real Madrid. So Ramos for me definitely has to be there. The other one that I thought of was Piqué. I hate Piqué's winginess for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's a Spanish thing, but he annoys me with his approach, his winginess, his style. Very good footballer, but if I was looking at a centre back pairing that reminded me of 2005 Milan, I would say Ramos and Puyol, both aggressive, both hungry, both win at all costs sort of mentality. Puyol was that for Barcelona during his time. Led as well, captained the team, did whatever needed to do. So you can't go past both captains, and they were both captains for a reason.
Puyol did it for Spain as well, very well.
Yeah.
Hack?
No, I'm going to disagree. I think Ramos Piqué. I think Piqué was the more technically skilled, better all-round player, and he was a leader in the dressing room during Barcelona's greatest period. I think Puyol had left before the Barcelona really hit their stride as a iconic club and time period where Messi had become easily the best player in the world, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean he's still playing now. He's certainly not the same player that he once was, but to me, Ramos and Piqué, they were the two sides of the same coin. They were very similar. They got the job done. They did whatever they needed to. Both leaders in their own right. So yeah, no. Ramos Piqué.
The other name that I've got here is Yero, Fernando Yero, obviously.
Yeah, I mean Fernando Yero is certainly a player with the same kind of pedigree as those first two, but he did leave Real Madrid in 2003, so he wasn't really there for enough time in the 21st century to leave a strong mark in terms of longevity, and he wasn't the same defender that he was during the most of the 90s.
Yeah, I was going to say about Yara, great player in that, but he's more synonymous with the 90s. Yeah,
fair enough.
Fernando Hero, eh?
Look, I agree with everything you guys just said. If I was to get a starting 11, I probably want Ramos next to Piqué as well, just to balance out the grit with a bit of football. Whereas Puyol didn't have that much class to him as much as Piqué had. Not taking anything away from Puyol, but in a starting 11, thinking about the way the team will be, I'd probably put Piqué next to Ramos to balance it out.
Can someone tell me how Fernando Hierro ends up at Bolton Wanderers? Because I don't understand.
How old was he when he went there?
With Ivan Campo and Yuri Djokaev and
Kocha.
How old was he when he went there?
I don't know. It would have been at the end of his career.
34?
About that, mid-30s, yeah.
Still.
No, I mean, you're right. Like, in order for him to get there, they had to pull off a bit of a coup, just like it was for when they got Djokaev and for JJ Okocha, etc. You got to give it to Sam Allardyce at that time. He was amazing as a manager. He knew what he wanted. He did everything he could to get what he wanted. And, great period of time of football.
Think about it. How did all those players get there at the same time? There've got to be some sort of deals happening. Mate.
There had to be. There
had to be some sort of money. You don't just randomly rock up to Bolton. In Bolton? What is this Bolton? They don't even know what Bolton is.
And look at Bolton is now.
They were close to folding, yeah.
Crazy.
All right, left back. This is one that was argued before in episode 1, so I wanted to come back and see. It'd be very interesting.
I'm not privy to that, so I'm not sure what you're talking about.
So
he doesn't watch episodes that he's not on. That's why.
The two big names that I've got here are both Real Madrid, which is Roberto Carlos and Marcelo. Abidal is probably the one that stands out. Jordi Alba maybe for Barcelona. To me, that they are below what Roberto Carlos or Marcelo can bring. So let's talk those two. We've done it before in episode 1. Let's revisit it, see if anything's changed, and see where everyone stands. So I'll start with you, Fabby. this time. I'll start with you. Let the Real Madrid heads soak a little bit and try to digest it. What do you think?
That's a very difficult one, actually. As a 90s football fan, I would say Roberto Carlos, purely for the enjoyment that he brought in that era of football, in that Brazil era as well, that Jogo Bonito. He was part of that system and part of that football that we all enjoyed, that flair, that skill. It wasn't just a left back and that's it. You know, he bombed down the left. He created goals. He scored goals. Had a ridiculous free kick on him, as we all know. So the nostalgia in me would say Roberto Carlos. In saying that, take nothing away from Marcelo, was a very, very, I would say it's probably the closest thing that Brazil's had to a Roberto Carlos. Very, very similar in style. A lot of similarities in how they play as well and what they bring to the team. I guess it will come down to a matter of preference. It's very hard to say who's better. You can't say this one's better than that one. I think it's just going to come down to preference. For me, personal preference, I would say Roberto Carlos.
Is that because you look like him, short and bold?
Yeah, I wish I had his left peg though.
Yeah.
Akram, I'll go with you now.
All right. So in the first episode that we did this podcast, I picked Marcelo, and I'm going to stick with that opinion because I'm always right. So we're going to just go straight into why. Look, I love Roberto Carlos. In terms of who I prefer as a player, Roberto Carlos is a player from our youth. He's a player I favor more. But you got to really break it down. Marcelo did a lot more in terms of beating the press, in terms of creativity, ball retention. He was technically more skilled. Roberto Carlos was more athletic, but Marcelo had much better technique, and he did more on the field. He would invert as an inverted fullback. He was a more modern fullback with some of these new tactics. Remember, Cristiano Ronaldo as a left winger flowed inward to be more of a striker a lot of the time. So Marcelo had to do a lot more on that left side of the field. And don't forget, as entertaining as exciting Roberto Carlos was, he was quite an inefficient player. He loved to take those blasting 30-yard shots that would sky over the crossbar, many, many times. He wasn't the type of player that you would say really was essential to the strategy and to the development of the play in Real Madrid. He was an athletic, up and down kind of player, but Marcelo, he was crucial to the development of the play in the midfield, keeping the possession alive, moving the ball around, supplementing and supporting Cristiano Ronaldo on that left. So, yeah, for me, it has to be Marcelo. They both played in the same amount of the time. They're about 13 years to 14 years now. They've both been playing for the club. They had that similar careers time frame. So, and I found that Marcelo has had more success overall. And don't forget, Roberto Carlos did end his career at Real Madrid in quite a tough way. After 2002 Champions League win, after 2003 La Liga win, there were some really tough years after that.
I'm actually a bit for not being a Real Madrid fan. I'm actually offended that you said Roberto Carlos isn't as skillful, or that Marcelo is more skillful. I think you're underrating him a little bit in terms of what is he, purely based on the fact that he wasn't part of an era possibly as successful that Marcelo oversaw.
No, I understand what you're saying, but in terms of skill, Roberto Carlos, he obviously was technically gifted, but Marcelo was a bit more of a dribbler. He would have a lot more sharper technique. And remember, the last 10 years or so, we've seen the development of this full press, the Klopp's press and all that stuff. So he's been very important at trying to beat that and trying to retain the ball and stopping teams from counter pressing and taking the ball off really fast. So he needed to have that real close control. Oftentimes, you might give it to a Luka Modric, you might give it to Xavi, Iniesta, etc. Real Madrid a lot of the time would rely on Marcelo to beat that first press because of that sharp technique.
Darcy.
It's a tough one. Look, I'm a big fan of both. I went with Roberto Carlos in episode 1 of the podcast, and I'm still going to stick by that just because he made that left-back spot his own. for so long. You know, any other left back that came to the club was at the club. They were always the backup. He was always a starter there. Marcelo, not taking away from him what he's achieved at the club with that three-peat and other titles he's won. But there was a time where he almost lost his spot in the left back position to Colin Trowell. When Mourinho was coach, Mourinho would prefer Colin Trowell to Marcelo just for more defensive reliability in that sense. So look, great players for both. But I just think Roberto Carlos for me, just the legacy he left. And Akron did mention that time from 03 to 06, trophyless, dark time for the club, even though it was the Galactica era. He did come out in that last season in 2007, winning La Liga and playing a crucial part in that too. So I think Roberto Carlos for me will take.
Can I ask you, the Real Madrid fans, you two, Ak and Darcy, how are these two players defensively, both Roberto Carlos and Marcelo? Who would you rate better in a defensive role? We both know how strong they are attacking and what they can provide in the opposition half, but in a defensive role, who would you trust more to have a one-on-one against an attacker, Roberto Carlos or Marcelo?
Darcy, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll probably say Marcelo. I just found him a bit more reliable. At his peak, Marcelo was reliable.
Yeah.
Maybe not so now in the last, say after 2018 Champions League win, Marcelo's form dipped a lot, and he's lost his spot at that left back position. Not bad, but before that, I found him he can be very reliable in that. Not that saying Roberto Carlos wasn't, but Roberto Carlos had that kind of moments of where he was a bit too much at the back, too much with the ball going forward. He'd make a bit more mistakes sometimes. So yeah, a bit more Marcelo just.
Would you agree, Ak?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would, and that's probably one of the reasons why I tipped him over Roberto Carlos. It's because neither were known for being very strong defensively at all. I remember Thomas Smith with Hawaii on press pass used to call Roberto Carlos a left winger because he never came back to defend.
Oh God, you're equating that now. You've lost all credibility.
It's funny quote him as a left winger because he left Inter Milan for that reason. Roy Hodgson played him in left winger. I didn't like that, so he went to Real Madrid.
And that was the reason I asked that. That was the determining factor for me to choose between one or the other, because I find them, like Fadi said, nostalgia. You think Roberto Carlos straight away, yes, because you just love him. But I feel like 15 years from now, we'll be feeling the same way about Marcelo. We just because we're in the moment, we might not appreciate it as much as we do. We look back at Roberto Carlos. So because of that, and because of the answer you guys just gave me, I'm going to go with Marcelo for my choice.
You're going to say, so you're saying that you've been influenced by their comments.
I had to pick, like I said, defensively, because you left back. Yes, as much as you want him to attack, what do you want to do first? Defend.
Yeah, I love how you're forcing him to justify that. He did say, I was going to go off whatever you said about defensive, and he did. What's wrong with that?
Well, I'm being chastised for asking a question now. I don't understand.
Because you're chastising him in your question.
No, I just said you've
been influenced.
You based your decision off their commentary, off their opinion.
All right, so we're a bit split in the back line. We'll try to get a line up towards the end of the episode.
We don't want to line up. We want to be split.
Moving on to the midfield. I'll ask Fadi because he's the one that's today, for some reason, he gets offended by everything.
Here we go.
Is it just today?
How do you want to do this? Do you want me to give you a whole list of names and you pick, or do you want to give?
I don't know what formation you're playing. You're playing 5 in the middle. Or you're playing 4. What's the story?
We'll do a 4-3-3.
A 4-3-3.
You have to.
You have to.
That changes things. Now.
Well, you have to do a 4-3-3.
Okay.
So who would you be your 3 midfielders? Do you want me to give you a list of names? Do you want me to?
Yeah, I think you need to have a short list, and then you can pick who, as opposed to just putting 2 players against each other. As a defensive midfielder, a holding midfielder, and 2 other midfielders.
All right. Let me add. So we've got.
So is it a 4-3-3 or a diamond 4?
Just play 4-3-3, mate. Stop complicating things.
Or maybe the number 10 wants to be part of a diamond.
Then you make him do that, mate. You make him do that.
But then it influences what I pick.
No, because a 4-3-3 with a 2 wings and 1 9.
Yeah, but what if it's a false 9? That's what he's saying.
Then he can go fuck himself and just stop asking so many questions.
I like to know, so I know exactly what I'm picking.
All right, I'll give you a list of names and you pick your 3 from here.
I'm picking first.
Yes.
Go for it.
Nice.
Casemiro, Busquets, Figo, Modric, Xavi, Zidane, Iniesta, Ronaldinho.
Fucking 3 spots only? I need 5. Can we make it a 4-5-1?
And then you have one to pick between all the other monsters.
I reckon you should have went with a 3-5-2, to be honest.
More balanced this way.
Because then the 3 at the back, you could have excluded 1 or 2. It's fine.
All right. Well, we're going 4-3-3, so hurry up and choose. Do
Zidane,
you want me to go with someone else?
Zidane, no, I'm talking. Fuck.
Okay, go.
Zidane for me has got to be in there, without a doubt. There's no question.
Wow.
Arguably wow. Arguably one of the greatest players of our generation.
Yeah, I know. I know, but like by doing that in a 3-man midfield, you're saying that Xavi or Iniesta are going to miss out. That's crazy to me. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, fuck. Look, coming from you, the Real Madrid fan. Wow. These guys.
I'm unbiased.
Since when were you so impartial?
I've always been. I've just been underappreciated.
I'll leave that to the people to the side.
So Zidane?
For me, it's got to be Zidane. As I said, maestro. I love Xavi and Iniesta. And if it was up to me, if you had a 5 midfield, it'd be a different story. I would definitely have Iniesta in there.
So it's Johnny's fault.
Yeah, 100%. You changed the formation on me.
You're so disrespectful, Johnny.
I planned this before I came. I planned that I was going they were going to play, and he just sprung it on me. 3 in the middle only, and here's 17 names. Pick 3.
Okay, Zidane's one. Who's the other one?
Zidane's going to be in there, undoubtedly. Who else was in the list? I'll exclude Figo.
You got Figo, Casemiro, Busquets, Modric, Xavi, Dinho.
Who's last?
Ronaldinho.
Ronaldinho's got to be in there, 100%. Flair, Ronaldinho just made you love football. We spoke about him in numerous episodes. Just for that explosive, unknown factor. Put him on the left, he can come in, he can do whatever. So I would say Zidane, Ronaldinho. Fuck, this is so hard. I can't believe you only put 3 in the middle. What's wrong with you?
Either way, man, you're missing someone out.
You got someone. You're going to miss 4 players that should be in
Then
there.
stop complaining and pick a name.
You didn't even put Beckham in the list. Wow.
Oh, I forgot about Beckham. I'm just going
There's
to
a lot
change
of
it.
players that missed out.
Yeah, I figured. Look, I'd love to say Modric as well, but I feel like too much creativeness and not much defensive steel. Then again, you've got two animal centre backs. I mean, if you had a three at the back, then I'd have to pick a defensive midfielder. But the fact they have 4, I can omit a defensive midfielder. So I can go with it.
Yellow, bro.
Come on, man, you're extending it.
It's making it difficult. Fucking nah, scrap Modric. Don't worry about it. Who else is there?
Oh my god, Akram, go. Let's
Fuck,
let it
what?
think.
One more.
You got Xavi, you got Casemiro, Busquets,
It has to,
Iniesta.
I have to be Iniesta then. That's it. Iniesta, Zidane, Ronaldinho. Zidane has to be a bit more of the ball winner, pulling the
So,
strings.
Zidane's gonna be a defensive midfielder.
He's not defensive. He's going to be like a Pirlo role. What's wrong with you? A little deeper, but still a playmaker.
He was a
Okay.
number 5, but he didn't play like a number 5.
So who's gonna be a defensive cover at all? Anyone?
No, because you have 4 at the back. You've got Puyol and fucking Ramos that are going to eat everybody.
Okay.
That'd be interesting.
Akram.
Oh wow, it's a real tough one to be honest.
I know.
Oh,
I've experienced the whole monologue of how tough he was just then.
Come on. Let's go. Keep it going.
I've got to say, it's going to kill me to do this. Honestly, this is not fun at all. Xavi has to be there. Iniesta has to be there. And Busquets.
Oh,
Wow.
Mate, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Zidane's my favorite player of all time. He definitely deserves a lot. And but besides the 2002, Champions League final Zidane's career around Madrid wasn't that great. I mean, he had already accomplished everything he needed to accomplish. Xavi and Iniesta started from youth, went their entire career there, and was part of amazing teams. Like, it was insane to me. It's insane to me that, I mean, Busquets now is still playing. And he's still playing pretty decently despite Barca's results. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to think, but you want a defensive midfielder. Casemiro is one. Makelele was only in there for a couple of years. So who would really be able to provide the cover and worthy of the spot? Busquets. And like I said, if you put Zidane, how do you leave Xavi and Iniesta out? The two players.
I didn't leave Iniesta out.
No. But as a centre-mid duo, don't interrupt me. You know, how do you leave those two out? Those were the two that helped make Messi. You know what I mean? Like, they were so important to that system. Like I said, not happy to do it, but yeah.
Was Busquets part of the Spanish 08, 10, 12 team?
10 and 12, yeah, but not 08.
Okay, that's a big part of the winning squad as well for the national team.
It sucks to say, man, like, from as a Real Madrid fan, but
yeah.
So who would
here
you
we go,
add?
Darcy.
I'm going to.
Sorry, Fatty, what was that?
Who would you add if you had an extra spot in the middle?
me, Zidane.
Okay. Just wanted to know. Sorry.
I'm going to say Busquets, defensive mid. And I'm going to say Modric and Iniesta ahead of him. I think Luka Modric, the way he came into the club, you know, on the transfer deadline day from Tottenham, training by himself. They voted him the worst signing of the year in 2012. Stupid readers in Spain, in Marca.
Darcy, you hated the signing at the time.
No, I didn't. He wasn't.
Dude, I was there, man. I was there. You were thinking about.
He wasn't playing well, but
you were thinking about sending that hat back, mate.
You one of the voters. You wanted the voters.
I remember, dude. You were filthy. You said Luka who? You said Luka who?
I think that was yourself. Anyway. That was that first 6 months of the club, you know, was a very tough time for him. And then 2013, that game against Manchester United at Old Trafford, that goal he scored, and it was just onwards up for him since then. And he's still going strong at age of 36 now, and he's still signing, and he'll be playing until next year, till he's 37, maybe another year after that too, I reckon. You know, he's still playing so well, and such a very important cog in that midfield for Real Madrid. Such a key player, and winning that three-peat in the Champions League, you know, winning La Decima, a couple of La Liga titles. You know, just that typical box-to-box player. Great shot on him. You know, even for his short stature as well. He's not that much of a physical player, but yeah, has to be that. And Iniesta as well. Just what a great player he is. You know, what a great player he was for Barcelona all those years. Come through La Masia Academy. Definitely has to be there. And you got so many names we've missed out. You know, Xavi could have been there, Ronaldinho, Zidane. But I think Akram mentioned about Zidane that he had the first 2 years which were successful, 02 and 03, and then unfortunately the next three were not so much trophyless. So yeah, as much as he's one of my favorite players of all time.
But you still have the image of Zidane in the 06 World Cup as well, which is such an amazing figure. And so it's still part of this 21st century.
It is, but he doesn't play for Real Madrid. And like, I think the difficulty is just in terms of, in the last decade, we've seen both Barcelona and Real Madrid reach heights that we've not seen any club reach. Real Madrid with a three-peat, and like Darcy said, Luka Modric was essential in that three-peat. And then, like you said, Johnny, Barcelona in 2011 or whatever was perhaps the greatest club side ever. And I don't think Barcelona reaches that height without Xavi and Iniesta. Like, nowhere near, despite Messi's obvious talent.
I agree.
That's the only thing I agree with you with.
You've agreed with me a lot today, actually. So.
No, I didn't. Actually, I disagree with a lot of the shit that you said tonight.
It's probably when I was drowning you out.
Look, as you guys know, the defensive mid role is probably one of my favorite positions in the field. I'm going to put Busquets in there to put a bit of balance in the squad. Just like Fatty said, I can't, as much as I tried, I can't put Zidane away from the team. It's hard. Just the name, just how much I love Zidane, I got to put him in, and that means someone else has to miss out. So it's either Xavi or Iniesta missing out, and I'm going to give Iniesta the head up. So I'm going to put Busquets, Zidane and Iniesta as my 3 midfielders, which means Xavi and Ronaldinho and Modric miss out, which is a tough call. But
5 in the middle, mate. I'm telling you, you needed 5 in the
Well,
middle.
Ronaldinho was a left winger, so you could still put him on the left side anyway.
yeah, you can put him in the forwards if you want.
Ronaldinho.
He's a forward. He's not a midfielder. He's a winger.
He's listed as a midfielder, so you can't add him in later. That's the point. It's been
I think-
excluded.
Yeah, Ronaldinho's impact at Barcelona was huge when he came in and helped them back into the Champions League. They were a shambles back then. They were playing UEFA Cup football. They were awful in the league until he just catapulted them. And obviously, Edward David's loan signing as well helped as well. But yeah, Ronaldinho's impact, I think from 2003 to 2006, yeah, that was very important too. Important part.
Maybe that's the problem, Johnny. You listed Ronaldinho as a midfielder instead of a forward.
Yeah, he's a forward. So Johnny,
We'll bring him back
there.
as a forward soon.
Well, Fatty's already picked him. So. You're fucking with Fatty too much, Johnny. Stop it.
That means I got to change my midfield, bro.
So,
All right, start again, Fatty.
so 3 of us picked Busquets and 3 of us picked Iniesta.
Yep.
Just trying to find the balance to get this team together at the end of
If
it.
you're going to push Ronaldinho as a forward, then Modric comes into the middle.
Okay. Doesn't change shit. It's 2 of us picked Modric. So, and 2 of us picked Zidane.
Aren't you glad you came on tonight, Fatty? Fuck this guy.
You know what the problem is, Akram? If Fatty was prepared tonight, this wouldn't happen.
How are we prepared? You didn't even tell us what the formation was. You just sprung it now. 3 in the middle. Actually, no, let's play a 4-2-1-1-4.
All right. Up front, and this is obviously the 2 that I said I feel like there's been no competition. I feel like Messi and Ronaldo will be the 2 wingers. Cristiano, I mean. Is anyone going to argue with that? Is anyone crazy enough to argue against those 2?
They cemented those spots there.
I mean, unless Fatty, instead of Cristiano, you want Neymar.
You know what? Go ahead and lock that in, John. That's fine. I'll speak for him in this.
Now you've got the number 9 role. All right. So number 9, there are a few names here, and we can now add Ronaldinho if you want.
That's not number 9, but Johnny.
Well, I don't know. You told me to bring him as a forward.
He's a forward in the left wing. You should have taken it.
As a winger.
You'd put him over Cristiano Ronaldo.
So do you want Ronaldinho or not?
No, you can't put him in there now. That's it.
No.
That's why I put him as a midfielder, because I knew he'd have a spot up front.
Because are you sure you didn't put 10 players in? Like, there's a spot missing, I think. What's going on?
He confused us all when he counted Figo and Ronaldinho in that midfield 3.
What's the number 9 you got?
Thanks, Adasi. Thanks for staying on track. Number 9.
You should go to bed.
R9, Raul, Eto'o, Benzema, and Suarez.
Wow. Hey, what about David Villa? Throw him in the mix.
Do you think it's up to that level of the names I just mentioned?
Fuck, bro. I'm just trying to make it more interesting. Now you want to exclude. Do what you want, bro. Fuck, it's your podcast. Sorry. Let's do a spice to make it a little more spicy.
You got 5 big names for 1 spot. How much more spice do you want?
I was going to pick him, but he was there as part of that very successful era.
You can mention him same way we mentioned other players, but
yeah, but like he really was there as a winger during Barcelona's years.
Don't get me started.
That's when Messi was playing centrally, and doesn't matter. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
You're the only logical one here. I'm going to start with you. R9, Raul, Eto'o, Benzema, Suarez.
Darcy, there's only one right answer.
That's a tough one, man. Like, so many good names, so many players that had their own impact in their own way at either club. Geez, if I had to pick one of them, like I'm a fan of Raul, I'm a fan of Benzema, but I want to say Benzema.
Wow.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I just the way his work has gone unnoticed. I think people underappreciate what he's been in the club for 12 years, going on to 13, and the way he started the club, he could have left after 1 or 2 years. He struggled just both personally and on the field, and the way he grew as a player. and him at the time him and Higuain were competing for that spot, but they got the best out of each other. They both had to deal with Cristiano Ronaldo being the focal point of the attack, and and then Higuain left, and Bale came in, and Benzema was a key part of that, and then Ronaldo left, and the way Benzema's lifted his game in the past 3 years, not just in terms of his scoring, but the way he plays the game and his leadership as well, has come to the fore too for the younger players in that team. So I think, his impact has been underappreciated. So I'm going to go with Benzema, and plus all the titles he's won as well, because we're taking into account success as well. So and how long they've been at the club in this.
Is that a criteria, Johnny?
Sorry?
Is that a criteria?
It's,
Taking into account their success at the club, or
it's individual choice. I'm asking your opinion on your starting 11. So
I just want to know what the criteria is, because it seems to be the goals post pardon the pun keeps shifting.
never shifted once. Anyways, your number 9, Akram.
I'm going to go Raul. For me, it has to be Raul. Raul was the captain, the leader, on par with like Sergio Ramos, like Iker Casillas. He helped, usher in the Galacticos era. A lot of people love to jump on the fact that Figo joined, Zidane joined, R9 joined. I don't think that would have went there if Raul wasn't already there. I think that's an underappreciated point. I don't think, or an under discussed point. I don't think Figo decides and Zidane decides and Ronaldo decides if Raul wasn't already there to help establish that bedrock. He was at the time one of the best number 9s. He was more than a 9. He would be fantastic in a lineup next to Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi, because he could assist as well as score. And just for me, like he was the captain. He was that leader. And at the same time, Darcy, you're talking about how Benzema had to really be. He was really challenged by trying to figure it out. He was competing with Higuain. He had to fit alongside Bale and Cristiano. Raul had kind of the same kind of issues. You had Figo and Zidane jump in. Then he had to figure out how to play alongside Ronaldo, who was going to get like the lion's share of the attention. And then, of course, he had to coexist with Cristiano Ronaldo right at the end of his career as well. 100%, without a doubt, Raul.
It's a tough one. Raul's one of my favorite players, and he'd be a close second maybe in that. But
if he watches this episode of Darcy, he's going to really be hurt by what you said.
You can go either way. It's a tough one.
Faddy?
I don't know what to say. It's fucking huge. I do agree with Raul. Synonymous with Real Madrid again, like Ramos, but in a different era, slightly previous era to him, even though they lapped. But Raul's enormous. I also can't go past Ronaldo 9, purely for being a goal scoring machine and purely just being that number 9 role. Whenever we talk about a number 9 role, that's the first player that you go to.
Can you imagine the front 3? Messi, R9, Cristiano.
It personifies, like that role is personified by Ronaldo, and aside, if he didn't have all those injuries, who knows what his career could have been. We've mentioned that many times. I personally love Ronaldo, and the kind of player that he was, and the explosiveness and his goal scoring ability, which is what you want in a 9. If you're picking a pure out and out striker, that's what you want. I'd have to pick Ronaldo. Purely that, as you said, that the concept of that front 3, with all 3 of them being able to score and 2 of them being able to create for Ronaldo is devastating.
When did Ronaldo sign for Real Madrid?
After the 2002 World Cup.
Okay, so he had an amazing tournament. So he still had a good.
Yeah, he left halfway through the 06-07 season when Capello was in charge. Went to AC Milan, and Milan won the Champions League that season, but he couldn't claim the medal because he was cup tied at the time.
Okay. Look, it is a tough one. Out of those 5 names, surprisingly, I'll probably put Eto'o last, which is a big surprise.
Why? Because he's black?
No, because he's such a classic player.
Mhm.
He's such a good player. We just spoke 2 episodes ago about being one of the best African players of all time.
I know,
And how
that clearly shows what you think of African players.
You didn't mention him once. I think you forgot that he was in part of
He was
this.
in the list.
What?
I think I'm surprised none of you actually mentioned Suarez up there.
He doesn't deserve a mention.
I think he's very underrated as a 9. Very,
No,
very
he is. Like,
underrated.
it is a tough discussion. Like, I knew you were going to say straight away Suarez because you seem to love Suarez for some reason. For me, he's a very well-rounded player, and he deserves all that kind of credit. But I don't know. Like, take Messi out of that Barcelona squad, that period of time. I think Suarez would be regarded as a top-class striker, but not anyone that you consider on a historic level for that period of time that Barcelona played. If you didn't have Xavi and Iniesta and Messi, I don't think that Barcelona squad is altogether all that impressive, as talented as he is.
What, you just took out 5 players?
I took out 3, learn to count.
Good. No shit.
But the point is that if it was that good, if he was on the level of R9 or Raul, then I honestly think that he would have been looked at and regarded as historically great. I think if you take Messi out, I think people go, yeah, top striker, but not on Raul's level, and certainly not on Ronaldo's all-time level. The reason why
he killed it at Liverpool as well. He won La Liga at Atletico at the first season that he went.
He killed it at Liverpool. He did really well. They didn't win anything, but he did really well. He did well in this past.
I mean, Benzema won. It's Real Madrid. Like,
no, but the thing is that right, he did kill it in Liverpool, and he did do really well in this past season. But I just feel like those accomplishments wouldn't give you the same kind of comparison as someone like R9. And I didn't pick R9 because, I think me and Darcy are both picking from the same kind of criteria, which is the success that they had when they were at the club, which is fair enough. But if you look at Ronaldo's career, R9's career completely, I don't think anyone would argue that R9 is by far and away the better player.
Oh, yeah.
And I think in terms of legacy, in terms of legendary status, Raul was an all-time captain. Like Fatty said, synonymous with Real Madrid the same way Ramos is. So then, for me, those two edge it out at least. And Eto'o is somewhere in the mix.
I'm going to go with R9.
We already knew that.
I'm going to go with R9 as my pick.
Okay.
Just the thought of a Messi R9 Cristiano front line. Wow.
Yeah.
So just to wrap it up, can I give the 11 that we picked tonight between our different opinions before Fatty comes and argues?
What happens when it's 2 and 2? So
let me sort it out.
He's basically going to pick whatever he wanted.
That's what I'm trying to get at here. I'm trying to see how he's gonna
So Casillas, Dani Alves, Ramos next to Piqué or Puyol.
Or
So one or the other. What do you guys have any opinions before I pick?
Look, I mean, you know what? I don't see any way you could give it to Puyol over Piqué. Puyol resided over a down period for Barcelona before, yes, they started going back up in terms of success.
You keep you did this with the Ballon d'Or as well, Akram. You keep putting team success in front of individual success, and to me, it's hand in hand, but it's not such a big determining factor on which one's it doesn't make a player any less or any better. If the team wins a lot more, but
it's one thing, Johnny, to talk about one player, player A and player B, and for them to both be significantly different in terms of overall talent. But this is not a discussion over, an average player that plays for, Nottingham Forest and Piqué and Puyol. So these are two of the best defenders that Barcelona has had, perhaps in their history. These are the players that we're discussing between both teams. The difference in disparity between talent is probably paper thin. So for me,
in that argument, Navas is better than Buffon because he's won more Champions Leagues.
No, that's because that's for you. You lead to a simplistic argument straight away. You just go, and we're not talking about Buffon.
But we're talking
With-
about comparing Puyol and Piqué.
And for Puyol and
you
Piqué,
went
in terms of talent level, I think that it would be very difficult to try to divide them too close on an individual level. Then it just comes down to subjectivity. Like Adasi picked Roberto Carlos, but at the same time, he acknowledged that Marcelo did a lot for the team. So really, it comes down to personal preference. So in terms of deciding an objective factor, team success is the most objective factor we can find. Otherwise, it's just going to come down to who you like better. You and Fadi both picked Zidane, which I have no problem with. I respect the decision because I love Zidane. But the point is, you picked him because you said he's one of my favorite players. He's the best. He's Zidane. That was the argument for you with he's Zidane.
Why is
So-
so angry about it?
Because he wants to come at me all the time about this particular way I conclude on players. When you come to that level of player, that elite, you're either going for subjectivity or team success. And
You're judging or punishing the player on team performance.
I think they'll sleep at night, mate. It's not a big deal.
But that's not
I'm
the
sticking
point of the
with
whole
Puyol
argument.
as
Whether they
Ramos'
can sleep
partner.
at night or
But the
not.
whole point of the argument is you have to decide one. So who are we going to decide? You just told the three of us. All right, guys. Well, Piqué Puyol. You could find an argument for both of them.
Then we won't decide. We'll leave it blank.
Why is so
Fine.
angry about it? You're so
That's
fucking
it.
fired up about it. I
Easy.
don't-
What are you saying, Adasi?
I'm just going to stick with Puyol on that one. I just think he was a very important feature for.
Yeah, look, I'm
Barcelona
not going
at
to
the
go back in every position that we disagreed on.
back.
and-
I'm just yeah.
yeah.
I think
We'll just leave it at that.
I think
That's
Akram's more angry at himself that he picked between two Barcelona players.
He had no choice. He knows with talent when he sees it.
Johnny, I thought you had moved on from them, because you like to club hop.
But
Another club.
PK for me gets less points because he's a bit of a douchebag. That's all right.
Hey, Leave
That's why I said
leave
he's a bit of a
Shakira out of
fucking
this.
That's what I say he's a window.
Leave Shakira out of this.
I don't know if you guys noticed with PK, but I'm going on a tangent here, but he's been very involved in the Catalan cause. And I think when he's going to retire from playing, he's going to be involved in the club, promoting Catalonia and promoting Barcelona and this and that, and his pro-independence and that. So he's very involved in that stuff. So, yeah, he's...
Is that a leftist movement or?
Independent movement.
That's not asked. Is it leftist or?
Yeah.
Okay. Thought so. Yeah, definitely PK out.
On that note, let's go to next week. So, big episode, a lot of arguing, a lot of disagreeing, a lot of shouting, but that's what we like about
Coach.
football
Who's
discussions.
going to be the coach?
If
Ooh.
can you do coach in 30 seconds though?
Oh, one answer. Oh, quick answer.
Zidane or Guardiola? Del Bosque, Enrique.
Say Guardiola.
I agree, Guardiola.
Guardiola for me.
Akram, wow.
Shut it down. That's it.
On that note,
Over.
we all agree on one thing, and even Akram says Guardiola over Zidane. And don't open your mouth to justify it. I don't want to hear it. You nodded your head. I'll take it as a yes. Thank you, everyone, and good night.